This is a CBS 4 News special report.
And thanks for joining us. Rick Folbaum along with Ruta Beshabazi. You're looking at a live picture from inside Broward Sheriff's Office headquarters. And that is a room full of deputies. And any moment now, President Trump is expected to walk into that room and talk with some of these first responders who were so crucial in helping those people who were affected by the mass shooting this past week at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. The president coming to South Florida, arriving just a few hours ago on Air Force One, making a stop first at a hospital in Deerfield Beach where a number of the wounded were treated. He stopped there for about 20 minutes to speak with some of the victims who are recovering and some of the doctors who treated them. And then he got back into his motorcade and made his way now to BSO headquarters. You see Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, and the Governor, Rick Scott, walking in. And now the president will be following, I'm sure, any moment now as we wait. He's going to come in. It looks like they have a conference table set up for the president to sit down and have a discussion with these fine men and women.
And Senator Marco Rubio also in the room there. One of those deputies, Rick, had a son who was actually a victim of that shooting. And Sheriff Scott Israel earlier today during a press conference expressing his thoughts and prayers, of course, to all the victims and saying he was so grateful that that deputy's son is now out of the hospital. He survived the mass shooting. So such a tough time for these deputies and all the first responders and medical professionals involved because, of course, it's their community too, and they know people. Sheriff Scott Israel himself had triplets who went to Stoneman Douglas High School, so a really tough time for everyone there, but they just handled themselves so excellently and treating the wounded, getting them all to the hospitals and locking down that situation. And there's the president.
And the president getting some introductions there. BSO Sheriff Scott Israel, who has been front and center over the last several days.
And I believe, is this the deputy who actually made the arrest of the suspect? It's hard to see his face here, but it looks like him. We'll listen in now.
Yes, that might be the police officer from Coconut Creek, I believe, Michael Leonard.
And we appreciate it very much. An incredible job, and everybody's talking about it. I just got back from the hospital, a young woman who shot 4 bullets, 2 in her lungs, and they got her over to the hospital in less than 21 minutes. She had no chance, and between the first responders, your people who got her, you know who I'm talking about, they got her there, Scott. What a job you've done, and the doctors did a great job over at the hospital. A combination which is incredible, and I hope you're getting the credit for it, because believe me, you deserve it. The job you've done is unparalleled.
I'm giving them all raises.
Give them a raise. Get everybody.
Mr. President, these are the leaders. They led SWAT teams, they led staging areas, they led command posts. These are the leaders who led the first responders from police and fire, our deputies who were able to do the amazing things we did in Broward County. So these men and women are, and we're so appreciative and honored that you and the First Lady would come down and spend time in Broward County and let us know what it means to you. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, fantastic. And, I know Broward very well. I've been here many times. I don't live very far away. I'm right up the road. And we actually drove down. We landed over at Palm Beach International. We drove down. And this was supposed to take place on Sunday or Monday, and I said, no way. And then Marco said, hey, he wants to go down early. So we didn't want to wait. We didn't want to wait. Maybe we could ask you each to say your name and a little bit about what you do. You have a lot of folks here. I'd like to get the world to see the great job that you've done. So the governor of Florida, we all know, Rick Scott has done a fantastic job. Fantastic governor. Truly a state that's doing well. We know that, Rick, right?
Yep.
So I just want to thank
job.
you. Like the job. Say something.
First off, I want to thank you for coming down. As soon as it happened, Kristen Nielsen called me and made sure that if there's any federal resources, thank you for the conversation we had, and you promised any resources the federal government could provide. I know everybody in law enforcement here, starting with the sheriff, and everybody has worked really hard. As you said, the hospitals did a really good job. We've had the opportunity to visit the patients over there. The kids are it's horrible what happened, but they're very optimistic about the future. So I want to thank you and the First Lady for being down here and showing your gratitude for all the individuals that took care of everybody.
Thank you. Fantastic job. Fantastic, Governor. Attorney General Pam Bondi.
Thanks, President, and thank you and the First Lady again for being here. And Sheriff, thank you for the great job you did, and FBI, thank you for everything you did. And Governor, of course, we were on the ground with our advocates from all over the state. They came in a moment's notice, so we had the very difficult job of being with the deceased families. There's no easy way to talk to someone about losing a child, especially 17 of them. And so it was very, very difficult. And then today we went to the hospital and got to see what you saw. So some very good coming out of that. And we've also seen a lot of good with the citizens coming forward, wanting to help and wanting to help our first responders. And from all over the country, people have been reaching out in such horror and tragedy.
The Attorney General has great victim advocates. She's done it truly at Pulse, and then she, after the Las Vegas shooter, she took a lot of her individuals out with her to help out there, and she's done a great job here bringing her child advocates and helping people, our victim advocates helping people.
I'll tell you who appreciates it too, are the parents, because I was at the hospital with a lot of parents, and they are really thankful for the job you've done. Now in those cases, their child is in really great shape, considering they, in most cases, would not have been, but they are really thankful to everybody. Thanks, Pam.
Steve Kinsey, I'm the Undersheriff for the Broward Sheriff's Office. Thank you for coming, Mr. President, Ms. First Lady. We really appreciate your support of law enforcement. The government are always behind us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Jim Poland, I'm Colonel assigned to Operations for the Sheriff's Office. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jim.
Jack Dale, I'm the Colonel of Investigation, so we led the investigative effort.
Great. Good job.
Chris Worth, I'm a deputy with the Sheriff's Office assigned to the bomb squad. Responded to the SWAT team with the part of the EOD element.
Thank you, Chris.
Greg Cardinelli from Sunrise Police. I was one of the first responders there, along with Captain Bradley, Jim McLean from Crawl Springs, and Deputy Carbachi from BSO. And the victim you were talking about earlier, this gentleman here, along with Jim McLean, brought her out first, and then we got her on a golf cart.
Right.
Got her some rescue.
That's right. And you found her in a very odd place, too. Not easy to even find. What a job you did.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Gareth Bradley, I was one of the SWAT medics that responded out.
Yes, great job. I've heard about that. Heard about you. Great job. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm Deputy Hanks. I'm assigned to the Parkland District. I was part of a small contingent of Broward Sheriff's Office deputies and Coral Springs officers that made the initial entry into the Building 12 where the incident happened.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Fernandez, the Fire Chief for Broward County under Sheriff Israel. Thank you for your support for the Fire Rescue Service. We're in a much more forward-leaning posture thanks to your support, equipment, and we're able to work tightly with law enforcement to save those lives.
You did. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Colonel Gary Palmer, Executive Director, Department of Detention, where he's in-house currently.
That's right. Great job. Thank you.
Mr. President, Pete Forcelli, Special Agent in Charge, ATF's Miami Field Division. Thanks for your support, and it's great to work with these fine people. The law enforcement and public safety community down here in South Florida is like no other I've had the honor of working with. It's amazing
nice.
people.
That's very nice. Thank you very much.
Robert Lassen, Special Agent in Charge, FBI. We're happy to lend a hand and be part of the team to overcome these events. On behalf of me and the 1,000 people that work for me, thank you for all your support, and thank Broward County, a tremendous professional organization.
Really great job. And you had a lot of FBI guys down here quickly. So great job. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Marco, we know Marco.
We just want to thank you and the First Lady for coming. Obviously, the Governor and the Attorney General for their response, and the stories of heroism from the schools that inspire teachers, the administrators, some who lost their lives, and the men and women of law enforcement who rush into this building not knowing what's on the other side. This is a community and a state that's in deep pain, and they want action to make sure this never happens again. It's happened too often, and I know and I hope and I pray we'll come together. And I know you want to solve this thing. I know
Well, you're behind him, I can tell you that, Marco. I spent a lot of time with Marco. He's behind you 100%, as is the Governor, as is Kevin, as we all are, really, as we all are. You have a great story to tell. Go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you for having me here. My name is Officer Michael Leonard. I'm with Coconut Creek Police Department. I was the one that located the shooter.
with the assistance of my backup once they arrived. Sergeant Camille Dominay from Coral Springs Police assisted me handcuffing him and taking him into custody.
Well, that was so modest. I would have told it much better. I would have said, without me, they would never win. But, you know, the story is amazing because Coconut Creek is not that close.
Correct.
And they heard he wasn't around and they can't find him, and there was a description, and you were in a different area. And you said, it must have been sort of strange because you were so far away. You said, I think that maybe is the shooter. And very few people would have done what you did. I think it was a fantastic job.
Thank you.
So now I've told the real story.
Well,
Okay. All right. First Lady, would you like to say anything?
Thank you all for what you do and saving our children. That's the most important. They're our future. And let's take care of them because they will go through a lot in what they experienced 2 days ago. And we need to take care of them. Thank you.
Very nice. Thank you.
Mr. President, I just wanted, on behalf of this agency, thank you. When you get to spend time with the President of the United States and the First Lady, it's something you'll never forget. But our conversation is not what I'm going to remember most. I'm going to remember most about a half hour that you and the First Lady spent with the son of who was shot of one of our injured deputies. I'll never forget that, and for you to do something like that is amazing. It shows what you think of law enforcement, and we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we lost our picture there, the main camera. Looks like this might be perhaps a secondary camera in another room. It's really hard to know. What happens when the president is traveling like this? There are pool reporters that are assigned. So they get the pictures and then they distribute it to the rest of the media outlets so that you don't have 50 million cameras in a tiny little room like that. But you did see how grateful those first responders seemed to be, genuinely grateful that the president would take the time and the First Lady to come and say thanks to them.
And wonderful that they're getting, this visibility and this credit because so often, the focus is not on them. And they did an amazing job and helped so many people in such a devastating time, even in their own community while they were going through this. And a number of other public officials there, with the President, the First Lady, Senator Marco Rubio, Attorney General Pam Bondi, Governor Rick Scott, and Sheriff Scott Israel, as well as the officer who actually arrested the shooter. Officer Mike Leonard from Coconut Creek, who was in a different part of South Florida, not too far away, but he was able, once he heard that there were shots fired at the school, he got in his car to see if he could go over and assist the officers who he knew were going to be responding. So President Trump and the First Lady in South Florida tonight. This is their second stop of the evening. They stopped earlier at Broward North in Deerfield Beach to meet with some of the doctors who treated the wounded and to meet with some of the patients as well. And the President spending the holiday weekend here in South Florida, eventually making his way to Mar-a-Lago. And we will have much more coverage. We have reporters spanned out across South Florida. We'll have it all for you tonight on the CBS 4 News at 11.